Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the digital program of Germany as the guest of honor at the Abu Dhabi International Book Fair. Germany will be the guest of honor, or is the guest of honor at the book fair this year in 2021 and also in 2022. As you all know, the pandemic forces us to change things a little bit. So we decided that in 2021, as not so many publishers can travel, we will have a nice stand with a very good choice of books and a very nice digital program, which is an authors and a cultural program, as well as a professional program. In 2022, we will come with a big stand with many publishers, with even more books and an even bigger program. Anyway, welcome to this fair, to this edition. The professional program that we organized is touching on issues that are interesting for all of us in the international publishing scene and for a B2B audience. And one of the topics that we identified is the pitching books. How do you pitch books? What do you have to do in order to pitch books? Because what we all want is to sell our rights. So therefore, we asked one of our experts in Germany to tell a little bit and share a little bit of her experiences, what to do and what not to do when pitching a title. And our guest today is Sylvia Schuster. Sylvia studied law, American literature, and European ethnology in Hamburg, and then started working with various jobs which were all about rights and distribution. And she started working at Aufbau Publishing Group in Germany before she took on the job as rights manager and head at Carlsen Publishing, which is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, children's book publisher in Germany. She's been here in Abu Dhabi in person some time ago, so hopefully we can also welcome her in person next year when we hopefully all will be able to travel again. And yes, so she's gained so much experience with selling rights that we think that she is the right person to share her experience. So Sylvia is going to talk to us about pitchings, what not to do. My name is Claudia Kaiser and I'm from the Frankfurt Book Fair. Over to Sylvia.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm just jumping in to my workshop, and let me just share the screen. As Claudia mentioned, pitching is, I think, one of the essentials, so to say, when you sell rights. So, what awaits you in my workshop or in our workshop? Actually, it's 6 blocks. The first is going to ask or tries to answer the question, is there anything special about pitching books? The second is focusing on what is not pitching and what is it. And I will introduce actually some techniques, it's 3 in all, to you that makes your life as someone selling rights hopefully much, much easier. Then we will focus on for whom are you pitching. This is also important for your text and for your final presentation of the book. And then we try out a couple of pitches. And we will take a look at how, for example, a text for a newsletter should look like and what the text of a catalog is just a bit different when you just compare it to a newsletter, and some more platforms, I call them. So, and then at the end, something to love, some tops and flops, and then a short summary at the end. So, just some mind games for warming up. Is there really anything special about presenting and pitching books? And is there actually a difference between pitching books or cars? You see, when I started to work out the workshop, I didn't take the easy way out. And you have to know that and Claudia mentioned this, I'm not a marketing expert and I'm not a born sales talent, so to say. I'm just a foreign rights manager who tries to make my books travel, and I try to sell as many books, of course. And I mean, you know that rights selling is about building bridges, about negotiating rights, about meeting people from all different kinds of cultural backgrounds. So it's a very vivid scene. But after, I think that was the point, I just realized how important clever pitches are, is the question, of course, of selling. I mean, you have a lot of books, and I think everyone knows as a rights manager, you don't have a lot of time. You have to be very efficient when you pitch your books, especially when your list is getting bigger and bigger after all the years, and you have a huge backlist. So when you ask me about my opinion, what is the most essential part is that you accept that you can learn to pitch, actually. And there are a lot of techniques and strategies that will help you to pitch your books, actually. And you will see it doesn't take much. So just for you, I mean, this is really a relief. I think you don't have to invent pitching. There are a lot of people who made it before you, and you will also be successful. And actually, we will come back to this point later in the workshop. You probably know already a lot of things about pitching. So to answer the question just from the beginning, is there anything special about pitching books? I would say the tools actually are the same. I mean, whatever you sell, but the beat, of course, is a bit different when you talk about books. We are all book people, I think, and bookworms. So you can't neglect this. So just to come to the first very important block of the presentation here. What is not pitching? And now you have to be a bit brave, so to say, because a lot of things that you might like as a bookworm or book people are actually not pitching. So forget perhaps about a couple of things that you have learned about talking about books. Pitching is not book talk, and we will come to this later on. It's definitely not book talk. Forget about this. It's not re-narrating a book. It's not about your taste. So, and pitching is not something like you have to convince someone of your book. And it's not about promising success or fame or more readers. So you will see, pitching is something else. Because what is pitching? Pitching is actually a marketing tool. And I would say it's a craft, and it's your verbal business card. So the first strategy I like to introduce here, and that is the Aida Formula. You might have heard of this formula. It's an old marketing or advertising concept, more than 100 years old by now. And it's an acronym that stands for, we'll come back to this, for attention. The A is attention, the I is interest, D is desire, and A is action. So it's a bit old-fashioned, actually. I mean, it's 100 years old, but however, it's a great tool that is, I think, perfect, especially for beginner of copywriting, of pitching, and anyone who's connected to drafting marketing texts. So you see, this is the acronyms. It stands for attention, interest, desire, and action. We will come back to this in the next pages I'm going to present. So if you Google, for example, Aida, you might find different kinds of strategy. All of these strategies actually are redeveloping constantly this old Aida formula. So there's, for example, an ad for marketing text on social media, but I think for our purposes, it's just perfect to focus on the so-called classy Aida formula. So let's jump into an example. This is a newsletter that I have sent to our publishers. And you see, it's a classy newsletter. It has a headline, and then it's just starting with the text. So I try to be a bit funny here at the headline. It's a reference to the Oscar nominations, and the James Chris Award in this case goes to, and then I name the author, it's Tamara Bach. So I try to catch the attention of the readers. In the next paragraph, it's about details. I'm trying to interest the reader for Tamara Bach's works. So I write a bit about her works here, what she's good at, what she's well known for. So in this case, it's that she's really an expert in works that focus on the transition from childhood to adulthood. So people just like when they read these newsletters might just think, oh yes, that's a topic I like to learn more about. And then it's this desire part. And here it's really easy. I just write about who already translated Tamara Bach, who is already happy to have her in their catalog. So it's a bit about someone else is also doing Tamara Bach. Maybe I should give it a try too. In the last paragraph, it's just about give it a try, ask for a PDF, get in contact. So it's just like, yes, give me a call, send an email. You see, this is Aida that helps me to organize lots of ideas I have actually about Tamara Bach's nomination. But Aida just helped me to structure and organize this newsletter. Very easy tool, I think, and absolute perfect for marketing texts of all kind, and also sometimes about pitching, so to say, in true life, just vis-a-vis, so to say. You can have this in mind too. So, but let's get deeper into the topic. I talked about that pitching is a craft, and I think that's true. And I think what to start with is that you get an awareness for your marketing text and that you learn to depict the essence of your book. It might be only 2 sentences that describe your book or depict your book in a perfect manner. So what I did, and I still do this, I still do rehearsals with my colleagues. We exchange our text. We're really open and honest when it's our text, and I think this is something that gets you forward, so to say, that you always improve your text and get better and better. And it's not that the first text is the perfect one. So, and this, I think, something I realized also that, I mean, everyone has an own way to pitch. I mean, it's your business card, and it can look totally different when my colleague Daniela is pitching a book, and everyone has known style. So just go for it. When it's up to pitching, just realize that you do pitching the whole day, actually. I mean, when you borrow a book to a friend and the friend comes back with a book, and after she has read the book and says, thanks for introducing me to this author, I mean, this is your pitch. And when you answer, yes, aren't her book amazing? She's such a courageous voice. I mean, this is just a pitch in everyday life. Or when a friend says to you, I didn't know that you have a car. I thought you were so eco-friendly. So we are back to cars here. And then you answer, since they brought us out this model, it only needs 4 liters on 100 kilometers. I mean, that's a pitch. That's an honest pitch. So you see, you already know how to pitch in real life. I think pitching is really about making your book really so good that it can't be ignored. And pitching is a condensed and comprehensive presentation, and you can always have this in mind. It has to be short and clear. That's the most important thing, I guess. So, second strategy after the Aida formula would be the elevator pitch. This elevator pitch is a very condensed and comprehensive pitching form, and I love it personally. I love it even when it's a text, but I think it's even better when you talk to someone and pitch a book. So the elevator pitch is a 1 minute pitch, and the idea is that it's as long as a ride with an elevator. I mean, in Germany it would be only 10 seconds or 20 seconds, but the average elevator ride, let's say in a skyscraper, would be a minute. So have this in mind when you pitch your books. 1 minute, not longer. I brought a book here. Let me just, no, it's not working. It's a picture book called Today Comes Jule. And you see, when it's a 40-page picture book. And even a picture book that is only 40 minutes has so much action. I mean, you don't know, where to start. You like the book. It's so many funny things happening in this book. So you're overwhelmed by all, let's say, information that is in the book and that you would love to forward to your recipient. So actually, you can't. I gave it a try with this book, and it was 8 minutes. So when I just re-narrate the book, so to say, or I just forward the most important things, I believe, of the story. So forget about this. So my first pitch for this would be Today Comes Jule is a picture book by a multi-awarded author and illustrator. It's about a brother and sister and how they become friends with their new babysitter. Her name is Jule. Sorry. Right from the beginning, the kids are constantly arguing, you have to imagine. The atmosphere is a bit tense, and naturally the babysitter is a bit stressed. So, however, when the babysitter tries to stop these fights, she damages a flower pot and later accidentally ruins the kitchen wall when she makes some artistic things with the plates loaded with spaghetti and tomato sauce. It even gets worse when the favorite teddy bear disappears. But the babysitter becomes a detective and does everything to find this teddy bear. And by, the kids perceive that she means it all well, that she's really interested in having a good time with them. So when it's time, brother and sister stick together, they stop arguing and become a team. They even decide to tell their mother that they have damaged the flower pot and ruined the kitchen and so on and so on. Why? Because they want their mother to hire the babysitter again. So this is the book about. This is the first pitch. We will come back to a even more condensed pitch in the workshop. But that would be, I think, a first good step to pitch this book. Everyone knows, it's on babysitting. It's a bit funny with a twist, brother and sister. So this is, I think, the most important thing here that everyone should know. Also very important, as I mentioned, and now we come to the third part of the workshop, is whom are you talking to? And for whom are you pitching? Because, and that would be the third strategy, it's called persona. You create a persona. You think about, to whom do I present the book? Who is reading my text? Who is reading my newsletter? Who is looking at my catalog text? And you imagine with this persona a person to whom you pitch. And it's an invisible recipient. It's just someone you imagine. For example, I give here an example, a young editor, first job, who's desperately looking for a picture book that will convince her publisher that she has a good nose for books. She's a bit stressed, but mainly she's stressed because there are so many choices. There are so many picture books. And I would state here that she's saying, oh, there are simply too many lovely books on your list or in your list. So this is a persona you would definitely give a different pitch as this one, an experienced, this is the second persona, an experienced editor who wants just one book. However, she says something artsy, but not too artsy. It has to be best-selling, but not mass market. She doesn't has time. I mean, she's just in a hurry. Her next appointment is already waiting. She's already on the run. You see, I mean, these are two absolutely different personas, so to say, and you would, of course, differently pitch the book. So for the first persona, the young editor, you would probably be more attentive and pitch more advisedly, I would say. And you would provide her, let's say, later on when you returned home, with newspaper reviews, info sheets, and sample translations, so that she's just fit for the book. Yes. And for the second persona, the experienced editor, you would probably put more emphasis on the twist of the story, the uniqueness, the potential of the book. You would name awards. Yes, you would name sales figures. You would probably also go deeper, a bit away from the story itself of the book, but you would talk about, we plan another book by the same author illustrator team, something like this. This is for her, I think, the best pitch. So, and also here, it makes it perfect to provide her later on with a biography of both authors and illustrator, sales figures, maybe also of the previous books, that she knows, this is just one book. I haven't heard of these author and illustrators, but there's even more. Maybe I can just ask for another book. Babysitting is not my topic, but maybe another one. So, and also here an info sheet and a sample translation makes it just perfect. So, when you have no clue, and this happens, of course, in every rights manager's life, when you have no clue what to pitch, how to pitch, who is your recipient, just ask questions. I think this is a very good tool. It's a very simple tool. This question, what are you looking for? I mean, saves not only time, because I mean, sometimes you're so nervous when you pitch your list that you just start. But actually, it's just good to ask, what are you looking for when you're not that well prepared, for example, and then you can just focus on the best books to pitch, and you can just make a selection before you go through your whole picture book catalog, for example. Another tip is to introduce your publishing house and not necessarily talk about books, but talk about yourself, so to say. For example, in my case, I mean, I would say, okay, we are a big publishing house, but even though we are big, each book is special to us. We love books. Our picture books are carefully edited. Our authors and illustrators are our treasure chest. Yes, our efforts result in making really unique books that both sell and stand out, nationally and internationally. That is sometimes something that, I mean, in my case, I sometimes have the problem that Carlsen is for smaller picture book publishers too big, and they think, oh God, it's this arrogant big publisher. And so for me, it's just like important to let my partners know, no, it's, even though we are big, I mean, it's books we talk about, and it's not important. Our size is not important here. So this sometimes helps me to just start a good pitch, and then we can just go deeper into books. Now we come to pitching in a deeper form, so to say. This is the last big block of our workshop. We will look at different platforms, and we will realize that different platforms, if it's a newsletter or a catalog, ask for different pitches. So because pitching is your door opener, and of course you have to find the ideal pitch for your platform and vice versa. So it has to fit together. So we will look now on newsletters and info sheets, and we will also, I will just talk about fairs and the catalogs and a bit about social media, and we will look at the right tone that your pitch has to match. So, because I think this is also important when you pitch. Pitching and right selling are services for foreign publishers. You have to realize that it's an advising of publishers, foreign publishers, it's a recommending of books, and of course it's you who do the, let's say, the pre-selection, so to say. And have this in mind when you pitch. And also important is editors worldwide are really short of time, so keep it short. And you're the one delivering the arguments for them to evaluate the book and subsequently purchase rights for this book. So a book has a long journey. I mean, the first touch, so to say, is the meeting or the pitch that they read with you or by you. And then it goes, I mean, a long, long way through the publishing house, and lots of people decide about the book. So there are a lot of pitches you need, not only the pitch on the fair, but as you see, also when it's a newsletter. And when I will come back to vehicles or cars, I would describe the newsletter just, it's your rocket. It's a fast, very fast forward vehicle, just like maybe a little motorbike or something like this. So when it's up to the newsletter, remember your persona. I think this is the most important issue here, because when you write a newsletter, it's important that you know that an agent's newsletter is of course different in tone and in the content than a newsletter that you write for editors or publishers. And if it's a newsletter for an agent or publishers, keep it short, and I would say maximum 3 books. Sometimes it's even better just to focus on 1 book, even though the selection is quite tough for you. So when it's a catalog, I would describe a catalog, I would depict it as really an elephant. It's a big, big ship, very, quite slow, but packed and with lots of content in. And a catalog can be both. It can be informing and it can be entertaining. And we gave it a try last year at Carlsen, that we made a catalog that is not really a catalog, but I would say it's rather a magazine-like catalog. So maybe you can just give it a try here too and pitch your books just like in a catalog style. So this is an example from our latest catalog. So here you have this proper, I would say, catalog page, an informing page about the facts that I would name when it's this book, a bit about the content, some bullet points that are the most important ones for me to mention, the hard facts pages and so on, and the age for which the book is aimed at. So, and then at the next page, we switch to the landscape format because of these online presentations that we had last year, and we made an interview. I think this is the illustrator and the author. And I think this is a very easy way just to make it a bit magazine-like. I mean, you see, I made this catalog with a PowerPoint presentation. It's not very stylish, but even though it's just the tone is a bit like in a magazine. So you can try this for your pitch. Another tool that is absolutely essential for pitching is the info sheet. And I would say this is the, I would say, proper family car, so to say. It's just, it delivers all the arguments that you need for your book. It has to be very factful, I think, and updated. So when you have an info sheet, just take a look before you send it out. Take a look if you have maybe just new sales figures that you should add, or a new country that you have sold the book to. So just give it a really careful check before sending out. And I think the most lovely thing about an info sheet is that it's been forwarded to decision makers. As I said before, it's a long journey that a book takes, and an info sheet can be easily be forwarded to a publisher, someone who's responsible for the department, who just decides, aha, we will take a second look at the book, and so on. So, and you have to also imagine that your pitch, when you talk about an info sheet, is also very supportive when it's for the one that you are meeting. For example, the proper editor you are meeting, it gives this editor a stand for the book. So she has easily captured all the arguments for the books and can just forward them. So it's easy for her, it's a service for her or him, and for you too. So I think this is actually something. I love info sheets. You can just make extended info sheets as you like. You can put sample translations together with the info sheet as you like. So when it's up to matchmakings or fairs, I would remember the elevator pitch. Keep it short, and it's much fun to do acquisitions, I think, with the elevator pitch, because even though you approach absolutely, publishers just as a, let's say, a collective stand, you haven't met them before, and you just introduce yourself and just, let's say, want to start a book talk, so to say, the elevator pitch is an absolute fantastic instrument here. You don't get on anyone's nerves. I mean, it's just 1 minute and you can stop. If you think, okay, it's nothing for them, just go to the next stand, so to say, but give it a try. And 1 minute is nothing, I think. So, of course, you can pitch your books on platforms such as, this is just to name the Frankfurt Rights platform, which is a beautiful platform to pitch your books. Or I submitted last week a filmed pitch, or 3 filmed pitches to Depictus. This is a picture book platform, and they will, so to say, present all these filmed pitches for the Bologna Book Fair in June. So I sent in 3 pitches. If you like, just check them out. Very funny. My daughter filmed me, and it was a bit uncommon, so to say, for me, but it's really a great instrument, really funny. And I tried to be very short, only 1, and I think maximum 2 minutes, and lovely thing to just to give it a try here, so to say. So just now we come to the end, nearly made the workshop. So we'll come to the worst pictures I made and the worst mistakes. In my early years at Carlsen, I really pitched a picture book to a Turkish publisher and didn't realize that the main character, the leading part of the book, was a pig. So I learned this quite fast, and this is just to remember you or to remind you, check the cultural gaps. There are cultural gaps, and some books definitely do not travel. So also with this book, this babysitting book. I mean, maybe, and I realized this when I pitched the book to a Greek publisher and an Italian publisher. They told me, "Oh, Sylvia, the book is really lovely, but actually it's grandmothers and grandparents who are babysitting. We do not hire usually a babysitter." So yes, then it's thumbs down, so to say, for the book. Babysitting is not common in every country. So for the last point, I would try or give you a try of my elevator pitch of Today Comes Jule, the book you already know a bit. And I would start like, Today Comes Jule is a picture book about brother and sister and their first time with their new babysitter. And her name is Jule. So, and then I would just start to get into the book. And actually it would only be, I think, 7 sentences. I would say, imagine you have 2 constantly arguing brothers and sisters. And imagine you have one average babysitter and they meet for the first time. For both parties, it's truly challenging, but fun for the readers. Things get broken, the fights of brother and sisters are over the top. There's drama around a teddy bear that is lost and later found, but courses through tears. It's witty, it's caring, it's funny, it's adventurous, it has it all. And at the end, I would just say, just to give the book a proper form, is at the end, it's 2 brothers and sisters who are sticking together, no longer arguing, and it's an average babysitter who will definitely come back. So this would be my pitch. I would just try to pitch the book like this. And this is, as you have seen, very, very condensed. I do not mention anything special here of the book, any action in the book. It's just the frame of the book, so to say. It's the essence, the true message, I would say. And then we have nearly done now with this pitch. It's the last paragraph. And you remember maybe the Aida Formula? Here it's ideally that you call for action, so to say. And here I would say, did I mention that writers and illustrators are multi-awarded and rights have been already sold to the Netherlands and Denmark? And then I would also mention that there's a sample translation and the PDF is ready to be sent out. And yeah, shall I put you on my list for this? Maybe a question at the end is also really beautiful. So you see, this is really, really condensed. And to mention the sales is also sometimes clever, because when a foreign publishers hears, there's a reference market. I mean, when the book has traveled to Turkey or Denmark or the Netherlands, it might also work for my country. This is sometimes quite easy for you. And then, of course, it's this, what I said, this action, yeah? Then it's time for thumbs up or down. And then you hear, okay, sorry, no interest, Sylvia, go for another book. To sum up and to recap, I think pitching is presenting at its best. It's just can be learned. You can acquire everything and become aware of how good you already pitch, actually. When you present things in daily routine, so to say, you already know how to pitch. And so just switch to books and then it's just perfect. Keep it short. It's the essence. And I just talked about the book talk in the beginning. If you think it's time for book talk, yes, you can switch to it. I mean, it doesn't say that a meeting, let's say with a publisher, should be that short. I mean, just to pitch one book after the other. You can just make a detour, so to say, and switch to book talk, of course. And keep in mind that different sorts of texts and readers or listeners of your pitch need different ways of pitching, yes? And then, this is my last page. Remember the Aida formula, even though it's a bit old-fashioned. I think it helps everyone. Remember the elevator pitch. This might, and you will see if you give it a try, might be your favorite pitching instrument, so to say. And remember the persona. When you're absolute clueless, this really helps to create a text, to get ideas for your pitch. Yes. So let's get started when it's up to pitching. And I'm really grateful that you attended my workshop. And I wish you a lovely and great fair in Abu Dhabi. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sylvia. That was really enlightening and very practical. I think I want to try that as well. Yeah. And we do have quite a number of publishers who come to the stand in Abu Dhabi and want to know more about German books. So, and I'll come back to that. But when we announced the session, we had a question from a publisher from the Arab world asking, what is your pitching experience in the times of the pandemic as compared to when you could still actually meet people? Because pitching, and even though you said convince, it's not about convincing, but yes, there is a bit of convincing to do, right? Also has to do with body language and eye contact and things like that. So what is your experience in that case? So I'll pass this question on to you.
Yeah, thank you. Lovely question, really important one. Yes, I think what I changed when I pitched books now, or when I'm pitching books now, is that I present more and more pages of the book. You know, when it's up to picture books, it's that I no longer talk that much about, the book itself, but I present more pages, more pictures. I think this is important. And I think it's important that you constantly are, it's just like doing sports. You have to be in a training, so to say, just ask for Zoom meetings, ask for meetings online, that you just, you never get out of this training to, so to say, meet people, even though you don't like to talk on a screen. I mean, there's no other opportunity right now, so you have to go for it. And I think rather give it a try. Just make maybe 2 or 3 Zoom meetings, even though you think, oh God, I would rather like to meet this publisher probably. Just give it a try. And I think we all got, and I think this is something I at least realized when it's my working routine, I somehow got used to it. And I think to make these Zoom meetings, and I think you can make it a fun part too. So I think this actually my 2 most important changes.
Yeah. And yeah, please.
Yeah, but Claudia, you're right. I didn't mention this in the workshop. That's true. It's eye contact. I mean, sometimes I pitch books on a proper fair and I only, forward the book, give the book to a publisher. Maybe I'm translating the title, but that's it. And then it's the publisher herself or himself, browsing the book and deciding about the book. And I'm not really saying anything, of course. And I mean, beautiful covers when it's spotty or, you can't transport these things, but you can mention it. And I think we all know that this pandemic will have an end. I mean, probably will we meet next year, probably, but for the next month, I think it's just important just to keep these online meetings and prepare maybe, share your screen, prepare the PDF and just go through the picture book, for example.
And have you, just if I may ask, have you sold less, or have you sold less titles than in a regular year or more? Or
No, we even sold more, Claudia.
Oh,
but actually,
really?
yes,
Wow.
actually, but I mean, Carlsen, we attended lots of fairs before the pandemic, actually, and our network is really, we have a lot of beautiful contacts and publishers with whom we cooperate. So it was quite easy for us. But I think it also was easier for foreign publishers to approach us. I received a couple of mails or requests, inquiries from publishers I haven't met before. And now they just, for them, publishers who haven't attended fairs, who haven't met me in Abu Dhabi or in Frankfurt or Bologna, and now they have seen, okay, it's an opportunity to meet Sylvia online. Why not? And let's ask her to give a presentation of her books. So I think it's a combination of everything, actually. But of course, we were really lucky because, we had been attending lots of fairs each year, and that was really supportive for us, of course. So yeah.
So the fact that you sold more rights sort of builds on the fact that you have attended so many fairs, right? So the personal contact is the basis for everything that happens afterwards.
Absolutely. I would emphasize this. Yes, that's absolutely an essential, I think. It's also because you know someone, of course, much, much better, because selling rights is, of course, a trust thing too. It's more, of course, than just, selling, as I said, but I think that this is really, of course, this is just a dream. If you know someone, have met someone, and then later on, even though you can't meet properly, you can talk about books and everyone knows your humor, your tone, what is Sylvia's, when she recommends a book, they know you a bit, they know your taste, your style, so on and so on. So of course that's important too. And this is why I mentioned in the workshop that your pitch is your verbal business card. It's you, and you make it special. So, and I think this is really lovely. I even once heard of a rights manager who attended, so to say, as an invisible editor, an editor colleague, and she went with this editor colleague to these rights meetings, pretending that she's another editor, just to learn about how, let's say, another rights manager pitches. And she just realized, okay, it's so many facets. And I just gave one example how I would pitch, but there are so many. And actually, when you meet me in a year, probably I would even pitch differently, because I have learned another issue of pitching, or I have a book that is so overwhelming that I'm so emotional there, or you see, it's differing, it's changes. Yeah. It's very vivid, I think.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And even though Sylvia cannot be here at the Abu Dhabi Book Fair in person, we do have her books at the stand, and it happens that we all have the Yule book that she just introduced to all of us at our stand. And we will try to learn from her and also prepare a pitch. So you're all welcome to come to our stand and have a look at the book about the babysitter Yule, if it is of interest to you. We can promise you we will prepare some more interesting pitches on the basis of what Sylvia just told us. Yeah, so do come. And not only that, if you buy the rights for titles at the Abu Dhabi International Book Fair, you are eligible to apply for a translation funding called Spotlight on Rights program. And all of that is available at the Abu Dhabi Book Fair. And you can even be an online exhibitor at the Abu Dhabi Book Fair and apply for this Spotlight on Rights translation funding. So unfortunately, we are already at the end of our time. Thank you so much, Sylvia, for this enlightening workshop. I hope you all of you liked it. And thank you, Sylvia. It was really nice. And I would also like to thank our sponsors, the Foreign Office of the Federal Republic of Germany, the Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy, who is supporting our stand, the Goethe Institute, the Frankfurt Book Fair, and many more. Thank you, and see you at the German stand in Hall 8A05.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.